What's up guys, Super Insane 18 here, and at the time of recording this video, the sneak peek for Phantom Nightmare is out tomorrow, and with Phantom Nightmare we have some very meta warping cards coming into the game, so of course we have a top 5 meta decks for the upcoming February 2024 format. Now before we hop on in, I do need to say that this is more so a prediction of what I think is going to be the top meta decks, because obviously the format is not yet legal, and we have not yet had events, but we do have some regionals the day after the set becomes legal, so we will see how correct I am, but this is just what I think based on what I've seen in OCG trends, what I've seen from my own playtesting of the upcoming format, and just what I think are the most powerful strategies, so let's go ahead and jump on in. Coming in at number 5, we have Manium. Now Manium has always been a strong contender since it was released, and it did get support for several sets after its initial release as well, only raising the ceiling of the deck, and I think that this is still a very hard deck to have to overcome at a tournament scene. The deck that you're seeing on screen is a first place list, so obviously if we are taking first place at regionals, then we are having some kind of success level, and I think that that success is going to continue on into the next format. Even though Manium isn't getting any sort of new support or any sort of buffs with new cards that are coming out, I still think that it is a very strong contender, being able to set up very formidable boards, such as Baron SP, Baron Dissipator, so many different ways. You have Omni Negates in reframing, there's just so many different things that this deck can do, and you might be thinking that Droll is going to be a massive hindrance in the upcoming format, but the other day I drolled my Manium opponent, and he still set up a Baron Dissipator and SP against me through a Droll and Lockbird, so this deck definitely has plays through hindering hand traps such as that. I think that this is a super strong contender, but there are a lot of more strong decks that are going to be on this list, so I think it's rightfully earned the slot at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Labyrinth. Now this might surprise a lot of you guys, because a lot of you guys might have expected this to be a lot higher on the list, but we will get to why it isn't as we talk about the list. The one that you're seeing on screen is a top 8 build from, I believe it's the Philadelphia regional, Christian Arena, a very notable player, and this deck, while not getting any new support similar to Manium, it is actually got new support in the last set, the Maze of Millennia, in transaction rollback. But not just is it playing the transaction rollback, we are now also seeing a very small Unchained engine with only the main deck Sharvara, and that actually adds a huge boost to this deck's playability. Not only now do you have the additional ability to use a card like Escape of the Unchained, but you also have the ability to link away with your opponent's monsters, giving you some board breaking potential that you didn't have previously. And of course, with the addition of transaction rollback, you are now allowed to use cards like your Welcome and Big Welcome multiple times in a turn, because the transaction rollback will copy the effect but not the actual card itself, and you are able to discard the transaction rollback off of something like a Chandragleer or a Stovey Torby, so being able to just get rid of that to then get one of your traps. Coup Clock is then going to allow you to activate those traps, which you can then use a second time with the transaction rollback, and this deck is a lot better than I initially gave it credit for. If you're a fan of the channel for a long time, you've known that I've kind of crapped all over this deck, but my mind has definitely been changed as better Labyrinth players are coming out of the woodwork and innovating the deck. I think that it is a very big force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately, there are 3 other decks that I just see as better, so Labyrinth has earned the number 4 slot. Now, moving into the top 3 decks, these are all decks that are going to be post Phantom Nightmare, so we don't have any actual results. The lists that I am going to be showing you guys are purely based on what I think lists are going to be looking like. These are lists that I have kind of worked on through my playtesting, and I do just want to say that they are relatively rough lists. I will be giving you guys full dedicated videos for each of these decks in the coming days after I acquire all of the cards that I'm looking for at sneak peek, but this is just what I think they are going to be looking like moving forward, so let's go ahead and talk about them. Number 3 is absolutely going to surprise a lot of you, because number 3 is going to be Fire King. With the addition of a card like Snake Eye Populous, Fire King gets a massive boost, but unfortunately at the end of the day it is still Fire King, and Fire King is a strategy that I don't think is all that strong. Unfortunately, the best card that you have in the deck is something like Kieran, being able to destroy cards and help you dodge specific interactions or hand traps, but I think that the Fire King engine is actually holding back what Snake Eye can do itself. Fire King is still a relatively strong contender, being able to have your Ponix, which is a level 1 fire, fitting in with the Sinful Spoils and Snake Eye archetype, being able to get you your Sanctuary, which gets you your Island, and your Island gets you your big Garunix, and the Garunix is able to destroy a Kieran from deck or an Arvada, and you have the Arvada as well as a Monster Negate. There are definitely a lot of plays, and I'm not saying that this deck is bad, I just think that the Fire King aspect of it is definitely weaker than some of the other things that we can see in the format. It's very susceptible to hand traps, especially if you were to do something like ashing the Fire King Island. That is a huge hindrance for the deck, and I just don't think that something that is so easily stopped is deserving of a higher spot on this list. Again, that does not mean that this is a bad deck, I just think that there are a couple of decks that are significantly better, and if you go up against Fire King, definitely don't think that it is a free win just because it is not number 1 on the list. You are definitely still going to have to work for that victory because it is a very strong strategy. I just think that there are better options. Coming in at number 2, we have Rescue Ace, and we're actually going to be talking about 2 different builds for this deck because there are 2 options that we have. And the first option that I'm going to show you guys is the Bonfire version. Now, obviously, with Populace coming out, Bonfire is a 1-card combo being able to get you your Populace. Populace summons itself. The effect of Populace will search you for your Original. Original will be able to summon out the Hydrant. Hydrant can search the Airlifter, so on and so forth. You guys have seen the combo plenty of times, and I will be making more dedicated videos again, like I said, and I think that it is just a very strong option. Unfortunately, because Droll is going to be so relevant in the upcoming format, I think that it's a little bit weaker. Obviously, we are still playing things like triple Diabellstar because we did lose a lot of consistency with the ban list limiting Airlifter to 1, but I think that it is still a very, not optimal, but a very plausible way of playing the deck, just because it does allow you to have more 1-card options for your combo. That is something that we lost and something that we are now gaining back, but I do think that there is a better version of the deck. And that better version is going to now be on the screen. That is going to be a non-Bonfire version. The reason I think that the non-Bonfire version is better is exactly what I said previously. It doesn't necessarily lose to Droll as hard as the Bonfire version. I think that the addition of Prometheus Princess is just more than enough in order to skyrocket the way that this deck plays. There is a combo that I will be showcasing you guys when I make my official deck profile video once I've obtained the cards, where because of the Promethean Princess, your Turbulence is now completely immune to any kind of interaction, and that's just really broken because that was the biggest choke point for the deck, was if they were able to Veiler, Imperm, or otherwise negate the effect of your Turbulence. But with the addition of Promethean Princess, there is now no point at which they can do that unless they have multiple interactions, and at that point, if they're wasting multiple interactions, they're playing down cards depending on what you have, since it was all a 1-card combo anyway, you're probably going to be in a phenomenal position even without your set 4. That is one of the mistakes that a lot of people make with playing Rescue Ace, and I was talking to a very good player at my locals who has topped several YCSs. He said that the mistake is that people think that Rescue Ace is a back row deck, but the reason I think Rescue Ace is so high on this list is because your interactions are layered. You have your back row, you have stuff like the Promethean Princess in the graveyard, you have stuff like Preventer on field, potentially IP into SP or Ambler Whale, however it is you are going about assembling your end board. Having those multiple layers of interactions means that you're not going to just lose to any one kind of like board breaker. Your opponent is going to need multiple interactions, and I think that that is the strength of Rescue Ace and why it is so high on this list at number 2. Alright, so now you guys might be questioning whether or not this is even a real video, because the top 3 decks that a lot of people were kind of predicting, being Rescue Ace, Fire King, and Labyrinth, have all been the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th slot on this list. So what could possibly be number 1? And I'm here to tell you it is none other than Magispector. No, I'm just kidding. If you haven't already guessed it, it is going to be pure Snake Eyes. I think that the Fire King engine for the Snake Eye deck actually just holds it back from what Snake Eye is able to do on its own. I've been consuming a lot of content, learning a lot of combos, playtesting a lot of games, and I think that the pure Snake Eye deck is uncontested, without a doubt, the best deck, especially after watching somebody at my locals piloting it as well. I watched them get nibbed, still assemble a full board. I watched them play through 3 hand traps, still assemble a full board, and the recursion of this deck is absolutely insane with the ability to use Flamberge on both turns, not only summoning stuff that you have as your spell and traps, but being able to summon back things from your graveyard, which are going to get you additional resources, because you can summon back something like an Ash and a Populace, which are then going to search, and you'll have guaranteed follow-up, plus huge boards, huge interactions, and there's obviously several OTK lines as well. If you don't know the Raging Phoenix line, again, when I make fully dedicated videos, stay tuned for that. I just think that Pure Snake Eye is an absolutely insane and underrated deck. Anybody who tells you that the Fire King version of this, I just think that that's incorrect, but obviously that's opinion and we don't have any results to back it up yet. This is just what I think the upcoming format is going to shape out to be once we have the cards available to us and we have more events being played and more obviously good players experimenting with the format. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I definitely without a doubt think that Pure Snake Eyes is the #1 deck of this format. And there you guys have it. That is what I think the top 5 meta decks for the post-Phantom Nightmare February 2024 format is going to be. As always, you know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. Don't forget to check out the channel sponsors Dueling Guard and whatnot. With Dueling Guard, using code INSANE18, you can get 5% off your entire order. And by signing up with my referral link for whatnot, you get $15 free to spend on anything on their website, which will of course support the channel as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.